English version. The case of Selestino Cardoso de Oliveira. Every day, millions of Brazilians trust their resources to the banks. But what happens when that trust is brutally broken? This is the case of Selestino Cardoso de Oliveira, victim of an unprecedented banking fraud. In his name and corporate registration, an account was illegally opened in Rio de Janeiro. Through this irregular account, a ghost account, $2.1 billion were transferred abroad. And from his real account, $2,030,000.002 reais disappeared without any explanation. While victims face years of waiting and suffering, inside the banks, the reality is very different. Directors remain untouched. Retired employees continue to operate in the shadows, moving credits and maintaining privileges. It is as if the system was built to protect those at the top and crush those at the bottom. Selestino tried to resolve the issue directly. He went to the Bradesco agency in Cidade de Deus, Osasco SP, but instead of support, he was humiliated. A director and a lawyer expelled him from the premises, saying he was already living on borrowed time. The persecution went beyond finances. Selestino was kidnapped, tortured, and suffered a cranial trauma, physical and psychological violence that left deep scars. In August 2024, Selestino made a historic decision. He ordered the start of an independent investigation with a deadline until the 11th of March 2027. Due to the complexity of the case and the amount of information to be disclosed, a structure was set up abroad. From there, the investigation began in Brazil, supported by a specialized team prepared to expose the truth. This investigation is conducted by teams in Brazil and abroad to reveal how private banks buy and transfer problems among themselves, avoiding responsibility. The complaint also exposes how former directors and retired employees remain tied to the institutions, operating credits, and favoring shady businesses in a system that benefits a few and sacrifices many. The banks involved, HSBC, BTG Pactual, and Bradesco, have so far presented no concrete solution. They keep shifting responsibility to one another, without returning the funds or repairing the damages. That is why Selestino took the case to international bodies, including the United States and other countries, and already has support to expose the gravity of these crimes. If the bank claims it spends $1 billion not to pay me what it owes, then the truth must come out. The people have the right to know. This case is not an isolated one. It shows that the problem is systemic, affecting thousands of Brazilians. Today, Selestino already has national and international support to demand justice. Attached documents. One of the institutions involved, BTG, withdrew from the case. HSBC stated that the responsibility lay with BTG and Bradesco. The money that was in Selestino's account disappeared, as well as the $2.1 billion transferred in the name of his company through an account illegally opened in Rio de Janeiro, an account he never authorized or created. Among these transactions, about 90% vanished, leaving the ghost account with no link to Selestino. The banks acted collaboratively, passing problems among themselves and taking advantage of the statutes of limitation that could cover up irregularities. Nevertheless, Selestino has bank statements and documents from the very beginning, proving that the money was his and was moved without his authorization. He has the statements showing the funds were in his account, moved by the bank without consent, and to this day have not been returned. Even worse, a director who was in advanced negotiations to solve the case was dismissed. Another who was supposed to meet him in Sao Paulo did not show up. He was in Miami doing business with BTG Pactual and companies in the United States. In the past, HSBC and Bradesco were seen as respectable banks. Now, they seem to have become institutions serving obscure interests. Selestino has already sent emails to the United States warning against doing business with HSBC, BTG Pactual, and Bradesco as they are not trustworthy institutions, and he already has. This is the case of Selestino Cardoso de Oliveira. A fight against impunity, against billion-dollar fraud, against the neglect of large private banks toward Brazilian citizens. Share this complaint. Give voice to those who are silenced. Join this fight for truth and justice.